Alrighty, so I just got back from the early access premiere of Transformers 1. I guess they were shown in certain theaters. I went to a Regal theater, and it was one showing today until I think the actual premiere next week. So I've got Unicron there, and I've got, the two main things from Transformers. And before I even go into the movie, so I went to Regal Theaters, and they had this cool cup, holographic cup with a Optimus Prime head. I think there's one with a Bumblebee head and some other thing, but it's I don't know. I didn't know what it was. I just wanted the cup. So at least mine did not come with a straw. I just had to use a theater straw, but a theater straw is too small for this to hear. So be aware of that. But yeah, you just pull the tab so it turns the lights on. Boom. It's on there nice and tight. You can whew, take it off. You got the cup. Then you got the head. So I'll probably keep the head, honestly, somewhere. Maybe even replace the skull I have on my desk. But yeah, there's that. And yeah, these, honestly, I think I got around to reviewing the Megatron, not the Optimus Prime or the Unicron. But anyway, on to the movie. A few things. So when the trailer came out for Transformers 1, I was I was hesitant. I was worried from the trailer it would be too childish for kids. And and it again, that's all right because you're making a property for kids. Not everything has to be for adults. The original Transformers cartoon was definitely not for adults. I think people have grown up or have, I don't know, just been brainwashed by Michael Bay's Transformers that every Transformers media is supposed to be like that, and it's fine if it's not. Um, and so I was kind of worried about that, but I like Transformers quite a bit, and they I got a ticket, like an email about this early access thing. I didn't have to be a member of anything. I just got to buy tickets. I accidentally bought tickets for the wrong Regal, so I went to the one and it was like 5 p.m. I'm like, oh my god! But luckily, they had plenty of seats left at this Regal. I don't think they did at the other one where I got to refund, get the tickets. Thank God. But okay, the movie itself. Is great. There's a couple of things I would have changed, so I'm not gonna spoil it yet. I'll tell you when I'm gonna do the spoilers, but this movie clearly set itself, Transformers One, so it's basically the prequel before everything we know, the Autobots versus the Decepticons, and I've said this for a long time now. I want like an anthology TV show or a regular TV show, whether it's like the first 5 minutes of Bumblebee, if it looks like that, or if it's like this, where it's pre Cybertron War. And you could even do it where, I don't know, 3, 5 seasons. The first couple seasons is, just regular Cybertron life, but have it build to that. Um, I would love to see where, even if it's not Orion Pax and D16, it's whoever, but you get to slowly see the crumble of Iacon and the society of the planet Cybertron go, just really kind of, I wouldn't say slow burn, but really get to understand why it fell. Because you kind of get to see that in this. And I will say, this movie does not have any filler or like, a moment of too long of exposition or something. It is just, it gets the point across and it's going from scene to scene to scene to scene, which I can appreciate. Um, the story focuses on Orion Pax, aka future will become Optimus Prime, and D16, Megatron, and their relationship together and the journey they go through, which in turn, it's not really spoilers, obviously. Orion Pax becomes Optimus Prime and D16 becomes Megatron. But you get to see enough of that journey because when the movie starts, they've already been friends. They work in the same job. which is interesting because I think in the IDW comics or one of the comics, basically Orion Pax is more of like your typical corporate office worker, and D16 was basically bred for slavery and, like to be used as slave labor, and even fought in what, like, basically a gladiatorial coliseum and had to fight for his existence. And so the movie doesn't do that. And I don't know if it's because it's aimed towards kids, it's harder to try to explain to kids, like, slavery and oppression and all that. Um, and I don't know if it would look bad if you had it where it's nice life office guy turns out to be good guy, and poor guy in slavery becomes the bad guy. I don't know if they wanted to avoid that. Who knows? But in this movie, they are both miners, literally mining for energon because, as the movie explains, there is no more energon flow, so they have to dig deep into Cybertron to find energon. And so I would say probably the first good, 20 minutes of the movie, even maybe a little bit more, is really spent honing in that these are two friends, they work together, they have each other's back, they might annoy each other a little bit, but they are good friends. And there's subtle references, their friendship comes off a bit intense because almost every scene is them going, my brother, I would be nowhere with you. Like, I'm always with you, brother. I would never do anything without you. You're my brother. Really hitting you over the head like, oh yeah, these are homies. Which is not obviously really a bad thing. It's just it's like, I know they're good friends. Like, you're really just keep trying to tell me. And then, their supervisor is Elita 1, and eventually they meet Bumblebee. I won't say how, but, it's basically those four kind of become the main character. You have your enemy, who I won't say. It's pretty obvious right from the get-go who the enemy is, besides it just being Megatron. I don't know why I thought the movie might do it where there's actually just really no enemy or kind of a bland enemy, and then Megatron at the end and they fight. But no, there's actually a pretty noticeable named enemy, and then it's the, like the ending of the movie is what I was hoping for, which is them becoming who they're supposed to be. But going back to kind of how I was saying my expectations, just judging from the trailer, I didn't mind the voice actors. The only one I was truly worried about was Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee. He actually did a really good job. I think he fit that role well, and I get the radio voice Bumblebee shit from the Michael Bay movies, even though they fixed it at the end of the first movie, and then for some whatever reason, he just has it again forever until the last night where he just randomly stops. And then in Bumblebee, they did it again. As much as I love Bumblebee, stop the radio voice. I'm so annoyed by the goddamn radio voice. Just let him talk. The first 5 minutes of Bumblebee, that voice he has is perfect. And in this, Keegan-Michael Key, his voice is awesome. Basically, every voice actor in this, actor who was in this movie did a great job. I didn't realize Scarlett Johansson was Alita. She did an overall good job, but some of her lines delivery was kind of eh. But Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, I thought was totally fine. Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron, fine. As in good. I'm honestly shocked because, having watched Atlanta, I can't even imagine that that's Brian Tyree Henry doing Megatron's voice. It doesn't even sound like him. Which to me is, proof that an actor is good at their job. I like that he doesn't inherently come off menacing, and even at the end, it's not spoilers again. We know he's going to become Megatron. When he's more Megatron, his voice, gets a little bit more serious, but I think it's still, for the movie, great. People were really shitting on Chris Hemsworth, like, oh, well, you're never going to be Peter Cullen. Oh, my God, guess what? Peter Cullen, he's not dead yet. I'm not trying to be mean, but he's not going to be around forever, and nobody likes AI voicing, so maybe give some other person a try at the voice. What is so wrong about that? Not everyone is going to sound like Peter Cullen. I know that that's what we're used to as Optimus's voice, but it comes like it's its own version where I was like, I get it, and it's a young Optimus Prime. I mean, he lives for thousands of years. You can basically be like, oh, it's young, it'll change, whatever. Um, I thought the animation was pretty good. It kind of weirdly seemed really good on the main characters and on a couple people that they would kind of bring back every now and then in the movie. It didn't seem as good, but basically good. Um, Fight scenes were cool. Soundtrack wise, I don't really remember them really focusing on songs or background music. At least that I can remember. There is an ending credits song that I think was obviously made just for the movie. But yeah, I think there was so much going on that I couldn't really tell of like a song in the background. And I'm not really one for comedies. I don't really watch funny movies. It's not really my thing. But in a movie like this, it reminded me a lot of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, and like older like Shrek, that kind of humor, where even myself as an adult can watch it and get like a chuckle and I wasn't like cackling like a hyena, but I'd be like, I get a chuckle out at almost all the jokes. I can mention more of the jokes in the spoilers, but I mean, I thought it was funny enough. The story, again, there's really no filler, so it gets that point, that point, that point, bam. And you could say it feels a little rushed because there's, like a race in the movie, like a literal race. I thought they could maybe add on to that scene just a little bit more where you could kind of see a hint of Megatron, like to win or to be noticed, I don't know, to be better, would be willing to like injure another robot, whatever. They don't really do that, but I just feel like it's just slightly rushed where, they're good friends, something happens, and then he just starts becoming basically evil. Slowly, but like I get why he feels the way he does. I just felt like it could have been slowed down just a tad bit. But overall, it's got beginning, middle, end. You get the development of what's happening. You feel the emotion, the relationship between Orion Pax and D16. These two is great. And I like the voice acting. It was perfect with the animation. They did a great job. So that's roughly going to be it for the non-spoiler part. I highly recommend going to watch it. I think it was a great Transformers movie. And in my, list of Transformers movie, I would say obviously my favorite is Bumblebee. And this would probably be second, honestly. It'd probably be Bumblebee. Like if I had to do 5, Bumblebee, this movie, Transformers 1, and then it'd probably be Transformers, what is it? Transformers 2007, Jesus. And then Transformers the movie, like from 86, and then Dark of the Moon. It'd probably be that. Obviously, there's the shows like the animated Netflix show, which I actually do like a lot, but it's not really a movie. But yes, go watch it. It's a good time. It's a good time. There is a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. The post-credit scene at the end, you basically see it in the trailer, and it just kind of shows you what you already know. So take that however you will. But on to spoilers. So, this movie does a great job with, world building and lore. Right from the beginning, you get to see how Primus, God himself, created Cybertron because he is Cybertron. And it literally shows him transforming into Cybertron and how he created the first Transformers, the 13 Primes, and how, they created the Transformers, everything else. And Energon flowed. But then the Quintessons came and basically F them up. And then the Matrix of Leadership disappeared, which caused the Energon to stop flowing. And that's why, cut to present day, the miners have to go dig for energon because there is no free flowing energon anymore. And so right from the get go, you see that there's the miners like D16 and Orion Pax, but then there's big ass transformers that can transform. And so the whole thing is that some people have the transformation cogs, and all the miners have the holes in their chest where they're supposed to have it, but they don't. Which you go, you're like, that's really weird. And basically, you know, Optimus Orion Pax is like, I feel like we were meant for more than this. And D16 Megatron is like, I get it, but I just want to pay my dues. I'll get noticed one day. I'm gonna just live kind of like a drone, which like kind of what they were built for. But they're friends, and you get a little bit of inkling of like they're mining. A cave starts collapsing. Jazz gets stuck, but Optimus goes back, risks his life to save Jazz. And you kind of get the hints of Optimus being that leader who's willing to sacrifice himself for others. And that's when we're introduced to Alita and everybody. But yes, they find out there's the Iacon 5000, which is a race for all Transformers to show basically who's the best racer. But even before then, this movie does a good job of kids won't understand, but as an adult, basically racism, prejudice, classism is in this movie. The people who can transform are like all the rich people are all of the rich people's guards. At one point, you see Orion Pax fall through the roof of like a rich club, and there's just hordes of energon that they casually eat. Meanwhile, all these people are basically living in bunk beds, working slave labor to get this energon, which, plot twist, as you find out, is being given to the Quintessons. But yeah, basically D16 and Orion Pax. Orion Pax more than D16. They join the race. They almost win, but instead of winning, because Megatron gets hurt, Optimus helps him. They end up losing, but Sentinel Prime, which you learn is like the hero of Iacon, is searching for the Matrix of Leadership on the surface of Cybertron because they live inside the surface because the surface is unlivable. But what you find out is because, by happen chance, they win the race. Sentinel Prime's like, oh my god, production's gone up. I need you guys to basically be celebrities to the miners. And then there's a recurring kind of bad guy, Darkwing, who just is kind of a bully. He's like, hell no, you ain't going to see Sentinel Prime. So he throws them down into these like bottom pits where Bumblebee's there. And he's been stuck there for a long time. And Bumblebee obviously is kind of crazy. He's got, fake robots sitting at a table that he talks to. And one has something weird going on in his head. So Optimus takes a look and it's a hollow, like a hollow file where it pops up and it's Alpha Trion saying, that the Matrix, they're in danger and gave coordinates to a location. And then it cuts off because as far as we've been told, the 13 primes, including Alpha Trion, were killed. So Optimus is like, we could go to the surface and imagine if we found the Matrix of Leadership and you gave it to Sentinel Prime, he'd basically reward you for being a hero. So D16, reluctantly, he's like, okay, fine. And they take Bumblebee and, Alita is loading. There's basically only one way to the surface, which is a self-autonomous train, which Alita is kind of in charge of monitoring. So she happens to fall on the train with them. They go to the surface. The train gets destroyed. They follow the map, and they go inside of a cave. And there they find the dead primes who have been viciously killed. But they find Alpha Trion is not dead. He's just powered down. So they give him some energon, and he comes back to life. And basically spoils to them that they were tricked and murdered by one of their own. And so he shows a memory. And basically, Sentinel was their like lackey and was like, oh, there's a meeting happening with Quintessons. If we go all attack them right here in this location, we'll kill all their top generals. But what it was is he actually brokered a deal with the Quintessons to kill all the primes. So he lured all the primes into a spot, and they're being, just bombarded by the Quintessons. And sadly, Sentinel shows up and basically kills off the remainder of the primes that were still living horrifically. He basically like cuts off Megatronus Prime's head, stabs almost everyone else to death. And so Alpha Trion also reveals that every Transformer is born with a Transformer cog, but that Sentinel Prime takes it away from them before they're born, which, as an adult looking at that, is fucked up. Dude is basically doing eugenics, castration, basically. I mean, you're robbing people of a piece of who they are, a piece of their identity, a piece of their body, and you're just like, oh god. And he is working with the Quintessons where they don't attack Iacon as long as he keeps mining Energon. So he takes away their ability to be more than who they were supposed to be, reduces them to slave labor robots, and makes them work all day so that he can give resources to the Quintessons. And maybe they're doing something more for him, but they don't really say because they treat him like shit. But he also gives the rich people Energon. So it's like really classist, racist stuff. And so, having found that out, they're all devastated. Orion Pax is devastated, and he's like, Sentinel Prime will pay for what he did. But Megatron is like, you see the turn in his character. I mean, Megatronus Prime was his hero. He has a little sticker of him on his arm, and to see his basically decapitated head and finding out that his hero was murdered by someone he thought was their leader and someone he could trust, I mean, it destroys him. And so, Orion Pax is like, yo, buddy, like, what's wrong? And he doesn't hold back. D16, he's like, I'm going to kill him. And they're all taken aback, like, and even Alpha Trion looking at that, makes a face like, oof. But knowing that, he gives them the former Prime's cogs, Transformer cogs. So they finally grow bigger and are able to transform. But you start realizing that for D16, this is so, like, it's something he can't let go. In his mind, he's like, we've been wronged so bad that this person has to die. And I know the whole morality is that, they're like, killing is wrong, there's always another way. But, I mean, let's look at even, like, Western culture. We have the death penalty. We put people to death when they've done murder and horrible things. And so, but you vote. I guess you could say maybe Megatron's not really voting, but when Megatron says that he's going to go back to Iacon and basically kill Sentinel Prime, you kind of go like, I get him. Like, I get it. Now, later on when he does other stuff, yeah, I don't agree with that. But when his goal is he is going to go back to Iacon and kill Sentinel Prime, you go, I completely understand. You just found out that your whole life was a lie. The life of everyone around you, everyone who's had to suffer. You were robbed of the Transformer cogs. I mean, you were robbed of, a piece of you, and forced into slave labor, basically, and lied to. And the people you looked up to were murdered by the person you've been looking up to your whole life. I mean, that is a tragic betrayal. And so this is when you start seeing the shift in their friendship, because D16 doesn't really want to talk, doesn't really want to do anything. And Optimus just keeps going like, come on, man, like we gotta stick through this. And so they get knocked out and captured by the Seekers, led by Starscream, which are the royal guards, basically, of the old Primes. Starscream is voiced by Steve Buscemi, which fits so perfectly. But he's basically like, we're going to kill you because you're friends with Sentinel Prime. And they're like, whoa, no, we're not. And, this is when Megatron kind of shows his physical might by beating the crap out of Starscream. And he's so angry that he transforms his arm gun, which appears. And, Orion Pax starts seeing like, oh god, like my friend might be lost. But they get attacked by Sentinel Prime's goons. D16 and Bumblebee get kidnapped. Elita and Orion Pax basically work with Soundwave, Shockwave, and Starscream to go meet up with um, the other Autobots, basically, and save everyone. They're not Autobots yet; they're just like the miners. Um, and so Sentinel Prime is like, I'm gonna kill all of you and tell the city that you guys are terrorists and treason, blah blah blah. And he's like, wow, Megatron, like you're trying to stand up to me, like wow, you're such a hard ass. So he gets a blowtorch and carves in the Megatronus Prime symbol. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Sorry about that. Yeah, the cat was trying to get in on the video, but yeah. So you really get to start seeing, Megatron become himself. He's still D16, but basically they're fighting Sentinel Prime, and since Sentinel Prime's an idiot and said, his plans, they get a recording of it from his lieutenant, which is Arachnia, I think, from Beast Wars. And they basically plaster it all over the city, so now everyone can see. Everyone's getting all pissy. But D16 takes Sentinel Prime and is about to just blast him in the face and kill him. But, Ryan Pack's like, no, 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 like, we can't do it. That's wrong. And D16 is like, if you don't get out of my way, I'm going to fuck you up. And so he kicks Ryan Pax and is like, all right, dude, about to shoot him. And no one's stopping him. He fires a shot, but then Orion Pax jumps in the way and literally gets half his torso and his left arm blown off and is seconds away from death. And there's like a big just hole in the city, like a, I don't know, sewer hole or something. So he's like falling in there, and D16 grabs his arm and is like, why would you do that? But then he's like, like looks down as he's still holding him, and it plays this ominous, music. It starts turning dark, and then he looks up, and now his eyes are red instead of being orange. And he's like, I'm done saving you. Boop. Drops his ass in there, and everyone's like, bro. But then he turns around, and it's a cool shot, basically, because it's doing it where it's a back and forth, where you see Orion Pax become Optimus Prime, and you see D16 become Megatron. So D16 grabs Sentinel Prime, rips him in half, and kills him, and then takes his cog, because it turns out Sentinel Prime had taken Megatronus Prime's Transformer cog. So D16 puts it in, becomes even bigger, crazier, bulky. Orion Pax, who's about to die, gets taken to the core of Cybertron, to Primus himself, and the Matrix of Leadership appears and reforms him as Optimus Prime. So then he shoots back up. They start fighting. Great fight scene. Optimus pulls out his laser axe, which I thought Megatron would pull out his laser Morning Star thing, but they didn't. That would have been kind of funny, because I do wish that fight scene could have been a little longer. You could have maybe even had a little bit of a conversation, like, you were my brother. I know that sounds cheesy, but it would have been pretty cool. But they're fighting. He basically whoops his ass and is like, you're banned from Iacon. Go back, you're banned to the surface. So he's like, this isn't over. And they flee to the surface, but as they're fleeing, it cuts to a scene of the first time they met. And it's basically when they first start doing the miner job, mining. And, they're like, hey, I'm D16, I'm Orion Pax. He's like, nice to meet you. And, they're basically like, you watch my back, I'll watch yours. Like, I think this will be okay. And you can tell Optimus is upset because it was hard for him to understand that his good friend would become his enemy. And going forward, being a leader now, what that means and the things he has to sacrifice and do. So it kind of just ends with them transforming on the surface and rolling out. The post-credits scene is Megatron branding all the Decepticons with the logo, and during the movie he had finally at the end proclaimed himself Megatron. So it's just showing him finally forming the Decepticons and actually giving them a brand. But all in all, just great, just a great movie. Like, real awesome time. This is 100% a Blu-ray buy for me, and yeah, I really can't say more positives. Go watch it, especially if you're a Transformers fan. The worst thing in every fan base is just people who want to bitch and moan. I mean, here's the thing. I don't like everything either. Like, I don't like The Last Night, but guess what? There's people who like The Last Night, and if they like it, you go ahead and like it. I don't give a shit. It doesn't hurt me at all if you like something I don't like. And it should be the other way around too. Like, people are just like, oh, like, it looks stupid, it's kiddie. It's like, then it's not for you. Go back to watching Michael Bay's Transformer. This existing does not hurt you. Remember, it's all fake. I say this all the time. It's fiction. Chill, bro. But yeah. That's going to be it for this video. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm out.